in the satellite picture. The ice we skate is getting pretty thin. The water's getting warm, so you might as well swim. My world's on fire, how about yours? That's the way I like it, and I'll never get bored. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid.
All right, everybody. Welcome to this is actually the third kind of like webinar today that we're having here at CAD Dimensions in regards to our SOLIDWORKS simulation package. If you guys didn't have a chance to view the two other ones, Kevin Holbrook did one on the SOLIDWORKS plastics, and then Franco did one on the Sim Pro. They will be available on our website. So just want to make sure that everybody can hear me clearly. If you guys could raise your hands, and also if you guys could see my screen. It looks like that we are good on that. So I think we should just jump into this this webinar here. So what we're going to try to cover in this webinar here is a little bit about the sustainability aspect of it. Some of you guys, maybe saw my tweet on earlier that not only will your grandkids love you for this, but you can actually also save money by using SOLIDWORKS Sustainability. So I'm going to show you that. So it's really some neat stuff you can do with this. So just not want to make this PowerPoint too long. I'm going to try to keep this short and running. But just quickly, when we talk about the SOLIDWORKS simulation package, where SOLIDWORKS Sustainability is included in it, if we just look here, we can kind of like see that we all have this thing that we have to think of new things. We have to kind of like come up with new processes and stuff like that. And if you make consumer products, well, then we all know that the design and how it feels and stuff like that is is important. But even if you do manufacturing and stuff like that, I know that everybody here at some point you're making those adjustments. You came up with something where well, if you place the broom over in this corner, it's better than in this other corner. So we all kind of like in our daily process is trying to make things better. The problem is, though, that most of the times when we're working in our design world is that we maybe don't have the time, right? We all got to make product. We all gotta make money. And if we do sit down and try to figure things out, many times it's a problem with time, or not having the right information within your hands. But what many times just turns into that this whole process don't happen, right? And we just gotta like get running, down the road. That's really where the SOLIDWORKS simulation package really can give you an edge, and this is where I think that the simulation package, or either if it's plastic or if it's flow, or Franco showed earlier the simulation FEA package, all the sustainability, you have all that data right on hand, right there to use, right in the middle of your design process. Many competitors are doing all this stuff in the end, but with SOLIDWORKS we actually have this very neat way that we can use it right in the middle of doing our design. So that's kind of like what we're going to kind of like, I want to show you how sustainability, how it can kind of like, of course, make greener products. What we many times are thinking is expensive, but how it can actually save you money in your design. But also, it is kind of like people are using the sustainability. People are aware of it, and in our daily way of thinking, it can really set us apart. So just kind of like want to talk about this sustainability life cycle assessments, what it really means. So it is a part of this. It was added to SOLIDWORKS a few years ago, and it's really neat the way it's kind of like working within there. I read this in a trade magazine, and I really think that this makes a good point about what SOLIDWORKS are trying to do with sustainability, right? This is from a CEO of a company who says that I'm not asking my engineers to be anything other than a good engineer. I have no intentions of making them environmentalist. And I think if any owners are listening here right now, I think that they will yell, amen, right? It's all about the money. However, he continues by saying that, but if I can give them the tools that are practical and integrated with their daily operations so they can make environmental better choices, great, right? Then they will make those choices because they have the data. And that's my point about the whole SOLIDWORKS simulation package. You have that data right by your hands that you can use, either if it's FEA or if it is, trying to make a product greener and better, right? So I took this screenshot here, and I'm going to show, we're going to get to this, but this is just a typical example in SOLIDWORKS how great this is, that actually on the right side of my screen, I have my whole sustainability going, and to the left of my screen, I got the FEA analysis going. So I'm in the middle of my design, and if you look at the top of you see the SOLIDWORKS feature tree. All this stuff is right there. We're working within it, and we're getting this, this feedback, and we can do it right there in the process. So the SOLIDWORKS Sustainability product, like I said, was introduced a couple of years ago, and it kind of like follows this cycle of life. You will hear a lot of people talking if you are getting into the life cycle assessments, and if you're interested, I'm going to give you my email at the end of this webinar here, and I can send you definitely some more information about this. There's some great things that is written up about this whole life cycle product management. A lot of talks about, from great to grave, and like the life cycle of our product. So what SOLIDWORKS did was they kind of like looking at this whole picture here. Just looking at the screen here, this is pretty good assembled, right? We have our raw material that we're extracting, out of the ground or whatever. We make it into some usable material, steel or whatever. Then we make our product. This is where we many times comes into the game here, right? We design our products in SOLIDWORKS. The part needs to be going somewhere, be produced somewhere. We use it, right? Whatever it is. And then the last two columns over here, either some of the stuff gets recycled, or it goes away, just gets disintegrates, or it goes to a landfill or something like that. What SOLIDWORKS did was they teamed up with a company called PE International. It's a company out of Germany. It seems like the Europeans maybe have a little bit of a step on this whole going green effect. This Germany have been going at this for 20 years. They make a product called Gabby, what is a whole life cycle assessment, and they do a lot of consulting for bigger companies and stuff like that. But really what SOLIDWORKS did was they partnered with PE International, took this Gabby database and put it right inside SOLIDWORKS, so we get this data right when we're working with our parts here. So it's a really, really neat concept of that. What SOLIDWORKS really looking at is looking at 4 elements when we're in there. It's looking at the carbon footprint, and this is probably what we hear the most about when we're talking going green, right? The CO2 usage, how much really, happens with that. The total energy is the second one. The total energy is really, how much it takes to create the product, but also the use of the product. And that's one of the things you'll see inside of SOLIDWORKS simulation is we can actually say how long we think the life of the part is going to be before it ends up in a landfill or something like that. Then, of course, there's air pollution and also the water pollution. So that's kind of like the 4 things we can kind of like look at here. But let's fire off SOLIDWORKS. Let's get into SOLIDWORKS because that's really where we have all the fun anyways. So I'm just going to switch over to SOLIDWORKS here, like that, and I got this assembly here. Now everybody have SOLIDWORKS Sustainability Express with the core product. What will do a lot of great things, such as parts, and will pretty much give you pretty much everything. And then there's the bigger one that can do an assembly like the one I have here. So I'm going to be using the sustainability add-on that comes with SOLIDWORKS. But you can definitely, there's a great tutorials for the Express products too and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things you can do that I'm going to show that you can do in the Express version here too. So I got this assembly. This is a humidifier in here. I'm going to turn on the sustainability product. It's sitting right up here on your evaluate toolbar up here. So I click on that, and you will see that the sustainability gets populated here. There's a little bit of thinking. It's starting up here. And I'm just going to minimize these 4 windows here for a second so just kind of like can run through and see how it works. So with anything else in SOLIDWORKS, start from the top, work your way down. So the first place is, where is this assembly being processed? So you can see up here that we can actually have a little world map, and we can pick up here, we can pick different areas of the world. Like I said before, how many years are we thinking this product should be around? What kind of energy is required for the assembly process? So we can actually add that in there too. Of course, also, where's the part going to be used, right? That's kind of like important too. Where in the world. We can add stuff like transportation. How is it going to get from one region of the world to the other, right? So we can apply that in here. And we also actually get in here values that we can put in here. How much is being recycled, how much is just going to be incinerated into the earth, and how much is going to end up on a landfill. Now, if I click down here, I can bring up these monitors again here, and we can kind of like look at some data for this assembly. And these pies up here are actually live. So if I hover over them, you'll actually see that it tells me here that 78% of the carbon for this part is produced just from making the material, versus the yellow portion, what is from the manufacturing. Same thing if you go over and look at the amount of energy used to actually make this assembly. Again, it gives us this feedback right here, and gives us the different parameters over here. It also, new for 2013, also gives us material financial impact, but is really a great add-on here. We can set these values here as a baseline if we want to in here. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are watching our Lunch and Learns. Kevin did a great Lunch and Learn not long ago that is also up on our YouTube channel on this whole evaluation toolbar up here. And one of the things was the assembly visualization tool. Now this tool here, when it came out a few years ago, I kind of like didn't quite get what it was meant to be, but after playing around with it, this tool here is actually pretty neat. So we can see here, we can get some information about this assembly. If I click over here on this bar, you'll actually see that I can color code it. What means that I can actually regulate, I can change colors, and I can kind of like narrow down with different colors, different things over here, such as looking at parts. And if you're looking over here, you will see the quantity, of course. You will see I got my mass over here, what is the weight, right? But if I hit this little arrow over here, you will see that there's something like a sustainability footprint over here that can be brought up too. And you can actually also go over and go into more, and you can bring in stuff like where the manufacturing location is created and stuff like that. And I'm not quite sure why this is not quite showing up here. I'm wondering if because I was goofing around with this assembly maybe. See, I had everything prepared and then it didn't show up. That's how it goes when you go live. So let's just try to open that up again, because I think that is operation error here. Turn the sustainability back on. That just takes a second to come on here. It's got to go around the world, right, and grab all this data. It's going out to this Gabby database and looking at these different values. So it comes up here. Let it update. Right. Give it a second. Let's get in here. Huh. All right, so I have messed something up with my model, and that shows up. Don't show up. That's great. So what you will see here is actually normally you will get with another. We can show it with another. I have another assembly. We will do that in a second. You will actually see these sustainability values showing up. I must have saved something out or something like that. But that's one of the neat things about the visualization tree here. So let's just jump away from that for a second. Let me go down to a part level. So this is actually where you could go out with the express version and even look at this kind of stuff here. So I take the water tank here. I'm just going to update it. And This water tank here is a part that I have modeled up with standard SOLIDWORKS features. And if I have actually a simulation study going on with this part here, so let me turn the simulation package on. And you will see that I have my simulation down here set up. And if I just run this simulation test, I'm modeling things up here, we will see that when it gets solved, that of course I get all the wonderful data out of SOLIDWORKS, how this with this part here. And what we have with this water tank is we have created a force on the backside here in case somebody leans up of this humidifier or places some books on it. And then I've actually also added a pressure in it because it's going to be filled up with water, right? So making sure that that design works. And what is neat about this simulation status, now we've kind of like stepped away from this sustainability, is that of course we can go in here and look at a safety factor. So the factor of safety in here on this part right now is 2.4. Normally, generally in simulation, we're looking at a safety factor about 2. Right? That will be 2 times the break of this part. So looking at this part here, we surely have a way to improve it, right? It's a little bit more beefy than it needs to be. This is where sustainability really comes in because we ran this part over here and we got the update in here. I'm going to set this as my baseline right now. This tool here should be, you know, I don't know, it should be everywhere in SOLIDWORKS because this is neat. So what I can do is I can go in here and you'll see we have the same material specified in here because this material here is actually the SOLIDWORKS material library. If I go in here and say find similar, we can actually go in here through sustainability and find materials that kind of like resembles the material that we have. So if I go in here and say plastics, and now this water tank here, I might want to find something that has about the same density in here as the one that I already have. But my tensile strength, I would like to find something, maybe something that is a little bit more stronger than that. So I'm going to hit find similar, and it gives me a list. Now this is all the plastics that kind of like falls within, you know, those specs. So now I can go in here and pick a couple out of them, right, that I kind of like feel is all right. I can filter it down, and now these will show up on my screen. Now, not only that, when I go in here now and click on these, look how it gives me feedback on these material versus the one that we had selected. If we look over here on the tensile strength, we will see the one we selected was the top one here. You see everything is stronger than that, so we're safe with that. If we're looking at a material, we can see that, you know, from a carbon and energy, this is better, but when it comes to an air pollution and water pollution, it's a little bit, you know, higher. Though our money have went down a little bit. If we look at the next one here, that will be updated. This one looks better on everything. It's a little bit more expensive. And if you're looking at the one that is the most tensile strength, that one is higher on everything here. Now, if I select the component here, check this out. We can see first that the material financial impact is 5.5% higher. Now, that's not going to save us any money, right? Wrong. Because this part here is greener, that's great, but this part here, we're picking something that is have a higher tensile strength, and we already confirmed that our part actually is a little bit too beefy already. What that means is if I go ahead and accept this here, we can look here, we got our model here, and I say set the material. Now I'm actually setting that material we just found over to our SOLIDWORKS end of it. What means that if I also go over here and update this here, let me just rebuild this here, and let's go over to our load test over here. So now we will see in our simulation this material has been changed out. Now if we look at this, we can see we created a greener product, which is awesome. Our baseline is about, you know, it's a little bit better too, but it's not much, right? It was a few percentage. But if I run this test now, and we let it run through it here, we will see that our factor of safety is now 5 times greater, right? So using this find similar, we found some of the material that was stronger than the one that we got specified, and the part is a lot, you know, beefier. What that means is that I can actually now go into SOLIDWORKS and I can actually work a little bit maybe with the shell feature here and try to make this part actually, a little skinnier, right? So if I change that factor and I do a rebuild, now if I change it like this, look at this impact over here. I mean, environmental, this is huge, right? We can look at all the bar, but also price range. We dropped the price on this part by 50%. And if we go ahead and run this, just by switching material, using sustainability to find a better material for us to use for the environment, happy grandkids, and also on our wallet, right? Because if I'm going to look at the safety factor here, it's still over 2. So this gives us a great way to use sustainability to find better materials for the environment, but also for the part itself. Now, on top of this, sustainability actually gives you a couple of neat tools. One of the things, we can create reports. So I can actually go in here and create a report here, what is coming out of a Word document that will capture all this data that we have in here. So I'm just going to take a second here, and we can generate this, and we can take a look at it. This could be great to kind of like do present to upper management or something like that. You will see the detail, right? We get all the material specs, we get the weight, the area of manufacturing versus the user's region. You get this whole thing here that you can take, a nice report that you can use with all the different information that you need, and you can prove that these changes are really, really great, right? Here's our baseline for this product here. Another thing we can do with this is we can also export it out either as a different format, as a CML or a Tracy and stuff like that. Another thing that SOLIDWORKS have made available is if you click on this little online info here, they will actually give you this neat website where it's taking our baseline design, the first tank, and our current design, and in this case here, it's kind of like basing it on versus miles driven in a hybrid. This could be a great way to kind of like just present it to somebody, right? Makes a little bit more sense. Actually, this whole website here, you can find it on solidworks.com sustainability. Just click up here. Solidworks.com sustainability has a lot of good information on it, including there is a sustainability design guide. So if you want to get more into this, here's also a place that you can kind of like read up on this. So they let you kind of like do this kind of design information right here. I think this is huge, that with the fine similar, and this is even in the express version of sustainability, we can take and make better products for the environment, but also for our wallet, right? Let me close this down here for a second, and I just want to show you another thing that you can do here that I think is neat with this kind of stuff too. I have another assembly here I'm just going to open up. This is just an assembly of a 5-gallon bucket. Nothing, this is just how most of us kind of like, we transport fluids, right? If it's in the food industry or even the manufacturing industry, such as CNC coolant and stuff like that. Many times this comes with these, in this kind of stuff here. I just got to check that this sustainability works on this part. And we can see here that it is. So that was where I was messing up before. So if you look here, you can actually see that we have a sustainability on the carbon footprint over here in the assembly visualization. But there is actually also, if we go in here to more, we can actually set different things. So if part was created in different places in the world, we could actually go in and show that. So in this case here, everything in this bucket is created in Asia, but it could be that, maybe the lid was done in the United States or something else, and we could kind of like show that there. That was what I wanted to do with this visualization tool, assembly visualization. Definitely recommend watching Kevin's webinar on that. Now, what I want to show with this thing here is we have this 5-gallon bucket here. Let me just set this as a baseline here and save this pocket out, or this part out, because this bucket here, like I said, this is what most people transport fluids in it. But we've seen more and more in today's age that people are actually, start using other forms. So this is something that is happening a lot in the kitchen industry. So this is actually a cardboard box with kind of like a liner within it, which is, there's a plastic liner inside of here, inside of a cardboard box. I know Kraft have done a lot of this kind of stuff here. So we can take this here and take a look at this 5-gallon here. Now what is neat about this is I set my baseline in my 5-gallon bucket. I can actually import that in to this model. So if I go over here and say I want to import a baseline, I can actually grab that pocket and set that as my baseline. So now we can actually go in here and we can compare the current one with this one here if we want to. So just by going in here and changing things, we can actually go in here and see what it does to the environment by creating this kind of stuff here. So we can really see that the numbers for the cardboard box is so small that we don't even see it on this scale here. What is kind of funny looking about this one actually is the air consumption here, because this cardboard is actually made out of fiber. It's corrugated paper, right? So you do that by using trees. What means that you're actually helping the environment while making the product, because you're growing all these trees. So that's kind of fun here. But what is neat about this now, where I have it in here as a baseline from the 5-gallon bucket, is that if I go in and use the create a report from this output, sustainability is actually powerful enough to know that we had the bucket in as a baseline and we had this here. So this is really great if you had assemblies where you make 2 different designs and you want to be able to compare them. So if we look at this here, interesting here is look at the weight for this, right? 1/2 kilo to create this bag in a box. And as we're going down, we will get all the data about that carbon footprint versus total energy consumed, these 4 different aspects. But it's also in here give us the 5-gallon bucket, right? It shows that we're almost using 2 kilos just to do that, and where that one is, these numbers, that's kind of like crazy, right? When we're looking at these numbers here. So I think that looking at these parts here and looking at where SOLIDWORKS sustainability can be used not only to compare and see what happens with the environment, having this data live right there when we're working with it, versus even use like something like to find similar materials to really make you money and do good for the environment in that regard here. So let me just get back to my PowerPoint here. So really this tool is really neat to have by hand here. Now last year at SOLIDWORKS World, Tony Fadell was one of the guest speakers there. And Tony, if you don't know, Tony used to work for Apple, and Tony Fadell was the guy who was in head of creating the iPod for Apple. That is a pretty neat product, right? And then he talked a lot about design and how that worked. He's now working on a project for a Nest thermostat that really knows when you're in the room and intelligent and stuff like that. One thing I just wanted to show here to wrap this whole thing up here is that he actually talked a little bit about 30 seconds on kind of like what we've talked about here about having these tool availables here. So let me just open up this website here, and I might just have to see if I can get my sound up a little bit, because I think that it's a little low here. So let me just play this 30 seconds clip here.
The impact that you have on the globe is absolutely critical to your thinking when you're an engineer. So I challenge everybody in here, while you are actually creating your products, think of your products not just as a product to an infinite stream of electrons, but think of your product as something that's tied to a finite battery. And that's either in manufacturing or in the usage. Make your products as low energy as possible. It's our duty to create the products for the next generation and the next generation.
So I think that's that's a fair statement, right? Like I said before, our grandkids will thank us, but I also think that when we can save money by using some of the tools SOLIDWORKS gives us like this, really makes it really worth it. So kind of like want to keep this short, keep it about a half an hour. I hope that you guys appreciated this little demonstration here and kind of like see how this product is really it's kind of like on the forefront. There's not really anybody else who really have gotten to this point with thinking sustainability, but also thinking in the term of our world, our manufacturing world, and having these tools and this data available in here. So I got my email address down at the bottom. You're definitely more than welcome to send me any questions you have or anything else like that. I definitely welcome any questions from anybody who's sitting in on this, and try to answer them the best I can. This presentation will be available online too on our YouTube channel for sure. So let me just take a quick look here and see if there's any good questions here. Okay, so one question is how do they come up with this data, these numbers? Where does these numbers coming from? Well, SOLIDWORKS gets it out of this GABI database that PE International have provided them. But the actually numbers for going green, there is actually a international committee that kind of like sits down and kind of like come up with these values, because a lot of these values, like a carbon footprint thing, that there's a lot of the greenhouse effects and greenhouse gases and stuff like that. I mean, calculating a lot of this stuff is impossible. So they come up with kind of like numbers that kind of like represents close to what you use. And what you can do with these numbers that you get from SOLIDWORKS is these can actually be used by the bigger picture. So like, if you were going to do a whole life cycle assessment, like PE International do a lot of that stuff, then you will see that those the numbers we get out of SOLIDWORKS could be used there. So it is like an international committee that kind of like comes up with it and kind of like set up these numbers here. Another question is in regards to the difference between the Express and the SOLIDWORKS Sustainability Express and the SOLIDWORKS Sustainability normal ones. What is the difference? I talked about it a little bit. So one of the ones is assemblies. You can in the full-blown version you can do assemblies. You can also do stuff like you can specify electricity and natural gas use, scrap rates for the manufacturing process and stuff like that. You can actually also use evaluate configurations in there, and you can do this, specify the transportation methods and distances and stuff like that. I think in the Express version you can only do, I think it's maybe just by boat or something like that, but where we saw in there that you can do it in different aspects. So there's different there. If you go into the SOLIDWORKS help and you search sustainability, you will get a long list out of different things like that. Hope you enjoyed this webinar here. Again, like I said, we had this kind of like the third one of the day. Kevin had one on plastic. Franco did a great one on SimPro, and definitely would